We have been working incredibly hard to celebrate our teachers and really elevate our educator profession. We have a really special guest with us today, Governor Holcomb, who has been our governor now for 5 years. We're so glad to have you to tell us a little bit about your favorite teacher, the teacher who impacted you the most.
Well, it's a long list, but you asked me to single one out, so I will, at the expense of so many others that have had a huge influence. I'm one of those people who can kind of name every teacher they ever had, and for which half of the day they had them, and all my different 6 or 8 periods of the day, and just had our class reunion, and so we had a little over 100 people get together, and we were all sharing stories, and obviously it all goes back to, it was 20 minutes ago, and it often centers around classes and teachers, and we were just so fond of the impact that so many of them had. If I had to pick one, it's hard to do too, because there's not just one, but I would say Mr. Drescher in high school. He taught commercial business law. It was one of those classes that, and I didn't go get my law degree, but anyone that went on to get their law degree, they would often say his class was harder than their freshman year in law school.
Wow.
Just because of the demands and the expectations, and he didn't sugarcoat anything. He didn't let you get by with less than your best. He would pull out if he knew there was more you could do. Class was fun. He was one of those individuals that did it for the love of teaching. It was truly a calling to him. He would commute. He's retired in the mid-90s, but he still tutors high school students in Owen County, in Spencer, Indiana.
Wow.
Still, and I get reports on him. I've seen him still leaves people positive, inspirational notes on little 3x5 cards, walks the main drag in town and leaves people notes to kind of be uplifting. Tutors kids, helps people who are shut in or homebound. And just one of those individuals that is always giving and just I'd almost say just a fountain of inspiration.
Wow. So Joe Drescher.
Yes,
Joe
Drescher
is your favorite teacher, the one who is most impactful.
Yeah.
And I know I'm trying to pin you down on one, but I can tell.
But even, all my elementary school, my middle school teachers, I still keep in touch now, maybe because technology and being able to text. So I hear from teachers who have retired and moved out of state, but it's like they're still next door. And I've realized they were pretty cool back then too, and they are now as well.
I guess with any of these teachers that you mentioned, if you could say something to them, maybe that you've never had a chance to say before, what would you say to them?
Well, I think they realize this. I mean, I don't think they're told thank you enough from students. But I certainly would not be sitting here without doing this interview without my elementary, middle, and high school teachers, for sure. That foundation, that opening of my eyes, the confidence that they gave me to pursue things that maybe I hadn't thought about. I mean, Mr. Drescher, I jokingly blame him for me being in this chair right now, because he's the one that said, hey, you ought to think about running for student government. I never...
So you were in student government?
President of my high school senior class.
So he probably this.
No, it was his suggestion.
Yeah.
That wasn't on my to-do list.
Well, thank you for him doing
that. Well, yeah, I mean, who knows which path I would have gone down, but it's those, what I would say to any teacher is, and I would say this to students too, is you never know what interaction is going to spark some interest in a student. And so often in those formative years, that's where you're kind of deciding what you're passionate about. And that interaction and that daily influence again, like I remember things that happened 35 years ago, 45 years ago, sometimes better than I remember what happened 4 weeks ago, right? Because it was just burned into
Yes.
who we became.
Yes.
And so I would just say profusely thank you on behalf of me and my friends. We certainly wouldn't be where we are today without them.